I remember that I went through that process of thinking, well, maybe is there a God? Is there a life after death or not? Growing up, even though I was reading about science since I was a teenager, I was fighting that off. I mean, I don't think I can bear the idea of dying and just vanishing. But I came to a peaceful solution, thinking of maybe, I can't choose. One thing or another is true. Or maybe if there's life after death, we all win. Or maybe if there's not, what can we do? What can we do to change it? Nothing. If we can't do anything to change it, let's embrace this life and this miracle moment that we have, and being conscious in this universe, to be able to look up and think about all that stuff, right?
So if I understand what you're saying whatever it is, or whatever it will be, it will be. What we know for sure is that you're alive now.
Yeah. And I think if you can cope the feeling between, having faith or not, is if you can find something in between that will talk to both perspectives, is that this life is precious.
I think it's more precious than you even are thinking right now, if I may tell you why. We are born fearing death because we are born knowing only life, right? We have no context to even see death. And so religion fills that gap. It does it quite mightily, I'd say. Most religions have a whole explanation for what happens after death. Science does too, by the way. It's just not as glorious as your religious death, unless you believe you're going to a hell or some other. The Jews don't have a hell in their religion, but in Christianity, there's a hell. So maybe you don't want to die because you know you're going to go to hell. Okay, that's a separate issue. That's a different podcast. Okay, get someone who's pretty sure they're going to hell and find out how religious they are. They might say, "Oh, I don't believe any of that anymore." So consider this, and I'm quoting in part some of the words of Richard Dawkins, the evolutionary biologist. He says this a little more starkly than I do. He'll say that we are the lucky ones because we get to die.
Because we have known life. Right?
Because we have known life.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. It's even deeper than that. Because if you look at the human genome and you look at the combinations of genes that can make a perfectly functioning human being, okay, there's your genome, there's my genome. These are two different genomes. We're both human, but what makes us different are the differences in those two genomes. Okay, so we can ask the question, how many combinations of genomes will give you a person? Okay, so in other words, how many total possible humans can a genome create? All right, about 100 billion people, about maybe a little less, have been born ever since we've been human. But there are trillions of possible humans that could be born. Trillions. Only a small fraction have been born. And most, we suspect, will never be born. So the fact that you are alive at all, you, me, the fact that we are alive at all is against extraordinary odds, against not having even been born in the first place.
Yeah.
So when I wake up and I say, I'm going to die one day. And by the way, I think about that. When people, if they get a disease and they die young, they die of an accident, they die. There's a lot of tragedy in this world. And people have a hard time coping with it. You know how I cope with it? It is however long you lived, even if you died of cancer at an early age, or however long you lived, even if your life was cut short, how lucky you were to have been alive at all. Because most other options are never having been born. And I bet if you're playing the lottery and you said you want to play this lottery and never have been born, or play this other lottery and be born, but maybe you die a little early. I'm going to die early because I want to be alive.
Yeah.
Rather than the other option where you've never been born. So that empowers me emotionally and intellectually to celebrate the lives of people who will not live out their full 80 years or 90 years. And I've even shared that sentiment with those who had terminal cancer, and they found it actually comforting. And however you can comfort knowing you're going to die. We're all going to die, but some people know how soon. That's really the only difference here. By the way, a lot of that is in the book. There are people there who wrote to me. He said, look, I just found out I've got 6 months to live, but I want to write to my favorite teachers. And you're one of them. He said this to me. I just want to say thank you for your lessons over the years and your videos and your books. And I just want to say before I die, I didn't want to die without you knowing this. So here's somebody who knows when he's going to die, approximately, but he's now trying to get his life in order. He's going to send out the kind words where you might not have thought to do so before. And maybe if everyone knew the day they were going to die, that they would be a little bit more compassionate. Maybe it would give more focus to their days that they are alive. This is one reason I've been asked this many times. If I could live forever, would I? And I don't know if I want to live forever. If you can live forever, you could postpone anything you would have done today until tomorrow. And if you live forever, there's an infinite number of tomorrows.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a day I'm not going to be on this earth. So I better get back to work. One of my favorite quotes from a famous educator, his name is Horace Mann, and I want this quote on my tombstone, okay? It'll say, be ashamed to die until you have scored some victory for humanity. There it is.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Meaning to life, knowing you're going to die. And I got one more example of that. I want to hear more from you too, because I've been blathering. I've been doing talking here. My wife called this to my attention some years ago. Let's say you have a loved one, and okay, you're going to bring your loved one some flowers. If you brought plastic flowers, how do you think they would be received by your loved one?
Yeah, not quite so.
Not quite
enthusiastic.
But wait, the plastic flowers live forever. And they probably cost more than the real flowers.
Yeah.
So why don't you appreciate it? I think I know why you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate it because the living flower you know is going to die on your tabletop. And so that forces you to focus attention in the moment to what that flower is offering you, because you know you will not have it forever. That is the lesson there of the live flower versus the plastic flower. We inherently appreciate that which we know will not always be there. And I think people who take other people for granted just forget that one day they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
Maybe you should rethink what that relationship is so you can embrace every day rather than presume that every day is just going to be like the previous one. And Frank Sinatra once said, I don't totally endorse this, but I'll say it anyway. He says, live every day of your life like it's your last, because one day you'll be correct. Okay.